Thursday, December 4th. I would like to acknowledge the presence of our permanent secretary, Mrs. Grayson Stewart McFarlane, at the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, honorable custodies who have joined us, a particular acknowledgement to the Honorable Ian Forbes, Custos Rotulorum for St. Andrew, acknowledging Assistant General Manager, Corporate Communications and Public Affairs at the National Housing Trust, Mr. Dwayne Burbick. We'd also like to acknowledge our other presenters from the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, Mrs. Audrey Dare Williams, Chief Technical Director, the Director at the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, Ms. Suzette Morris, and we would like to recognize all the representatives from the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. Justices of the Peace, we acknowledge your presence, and the media. Good afternoon and welcome once more to this All-Island Justices of the Peace Sensitization session. I am the Director for Public Law, Restorative and Preventative Justice at the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. My name is Julia Moncrief Wigan, and I will be your moderator for today's session. Before we begin officially, I would like to direct your attention to the following session protocols and reminders. Please, I'm asking you to mute all your mics. During the question and answer session, you may use the raise hand feature, await acknowledgement before you unmute your mic. You may also post your questions or comments in the chat. As an announcement, Justices of the Peace are invited through their custodies to volunteer in support of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security's relief and recovery efforts by conducting damage assessments of households and communities in the parishes affected by Hurricane Melissa. Further details will be provided by the Ministry of Labor and Social Security representatives this evening. And if you are interested, I will ask you, please, if you could post your name, the parish that you are a Justice of the Peace in, and if you so wish, your telephone contact and or email in the chat. At this time, please stand for the national anthem. I now invite Custos Rotulorum for St. Andrew, the Honorable Mr. Ian Forbes, to lead the opening prayer.
Good afternoon, all. Kindly bow your heads as we pray. Gracious and eternal God, we gather this evening with grateful hearts, mindful of your sustaining hand, even in times of disruption and loss. As our nation continues to recover from the impact of Hurricane Melissa, we lift before you the many families whose homes, security, and peace of mind were shaken. Grant them comfort, strength, and renewed hope. We thank you for the commitment of the National Housing Trust, the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, and all stakeholders who labor to ensure that recovery is possible for every affected homeowner. Guide this sensitization session with clarity and purpose so that the information shared will empower justices of the peace to serve with wisdom, compassion, and integrity. Bless each justice of the peace present this evening. May they continue to be steadfast pillars in their communities, voices of reassurance, guardians of fairness, and instruments of peace. Strengthen their resolve to support those who are vulnerable and grant them the discernment they need as they help homeowners navigate the path to restoration.
Thank you very much, Custos Forbes. On behalf of the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, I once more extend another warm welcome to this virtual JP sensitization session, which addresses issues arising from the impact of Hurricane Melissa, including housing matters. It is the Ministry's pleasure to invite your participation as we encourage justices of the peace to remain informed about current developments in the law, government policies, and available services. This evening, we're particularly inviting our justices of the peace to volunteer as we try to lend support to our sister parishes that were badly affected out of Hurricane Melissa's passage. I trust that during this session, information will be provided on how individuals may obtain relief from the National Housing Trust for damaged homes, and that we will encourage and engage in meaningful discussions in the support of ongoing relief and recovery efforts. I would like to extend apologies for the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Honorable Delroy Chuck, who is unable to join us this evening, but has conveyed his best wishes for an impactful session. Please make welcome at this time Mr. Dwayne Burbick from the National Housing Agency, National Housing Agency, who will expound on the theme, After Melissa, Support for NHT Homeowners. Mr. Burbick?
Thank you very much. Pleasant afternoon. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes, we're hearing you clearly.
Great. And are you able to see my screen as well?
Yes, we're able to see the screen.
Okay, great. So this evening I'll be sharing a little as to what the NHT has put together as a support package to our mortgagors, our contributors, and I dare say a wider cross section of Jamaicans at this time who have been impacted rather with the passage of the hurricane. So immediately after, we put to work in terms of how we will be able to come up with a set of initiatives that will support our Jamaicans at this particular time. I don't want to say thankfully, but the experience of Hurricane Beryl last year uh, allowed us at that time to be responsive to the needs of Jamaicans at that time, especially in the parishes of St. Elizabeth and Clarendon. And so we had something that we were working with already in terms of having an understanding as to what support is required at this particular time. And so it was a matter of going back to those initiatives rather than trying to invent something new that would allow us to be a bit more responsive in terms of how soon we're able to deploy resources and send these initiatives up to benefit our contributors and our mortgagors. So we took that experience last year, and that experience uh, led to us creating a special hurricane relief loan that assists homeowners that have been impacted by disaster, a hurricane in this particular case. We also generated last year a disaster relief grant, and we also extended to our NHT mortgagors a moratorium, which is a break on their mortgage payments. So this evening, I'll be sharing with you what these initiatives look like in a post Melissa environment. Of course, how can individuals who have been impacted put in their applications, and also a role that we have actually for our justices of the peace in terms of and assisting us with some of the verification that is required at this time, especially where individuals have lost critical documents or where other documents such as proof of ownership may be required to access certain benefits. I'll also will be sharing a little on the NHT's peril insurance claims. That's a claim that an individual who is a homeowner and a mortgager of the NHT specifically can make. So, in fact, I'll start with that one, the peril insurance arrangements that the NHT has. So, an NHT mortgager, an individual, I mean by that, who service their mortgage at the NHT, they benefit from the NHT's peril insurance arrangements. On a monthly basis, the person who makes a mortgage payment to the NHT makes a mortgage payment that's more than just the principal and the interest on the amount that is borrowed. That mortgage payment on a monthly basis actually also extends to include life insurance, which in the event of death, the mortgage is secured, and a peril insurance, where in the event of a disaster, there is some support that can be made to assist the homeowner in terms of restoring the property to its previous state. So
Mr.
all
Burby,
NHT mortgages, once you service a mortgage with the NHT, you already have this comprehensive NHT peril insurance coverage. And that's
Mr.
covered.
Berry,
Yes?
sorry
excuse
to
me, please. I'm
interrupt.
sorry for
I am
breaching. I
not
raised
able to
my
see
hand, but
your
your screen is not being
presentation.
seen.
Mr.
You're
Burby,
not
are you hearing
you're
me?
not you're not
Right,
seeing my
we're
presentation?
not seeing the presentation.
No.
It came. Miss Panton, please allow us to facilitate the session.
All right. Let me try and share again.
I'm
Are you
seeing
with
it
me now?
now. Yes, I'm seeing it now.
All
You're at
right.
the slide peril insurance. That's what is on the screen.
Okay, great. So that peril insurance pretty much means that it's covered from a wide set of eventualities, disasters, we want to call them. Among them, of course, hurricane, and of course, bursting of pipes, overflowing of water tanks, flooding. You can see there a wide range of issues and eventualities are covered under the arrangement.
The screen is not moving. So we're
What are you
seeing,
seeing?
I'm seeing the peril insurance, but the slide, it's not moving.
All right, the technology is not our friend this evening, so I'm not sure. Um, Let me stop sharing and try again. Are you with me now?
I am right. We're seeing a screen at peril insurance claims.
Okay. All right. Pardon me, but I'm not sure what's happening. So if it actually goes again,
I will
may I
advise you.
ask that I just continue the presentation without it,
Okay,
and
no
I'll see
problem.
how best I can get the information to you for distribution thereafter.
Okay, no
All right, fair
problem.
enough.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so peril insurance claims. So all NHT mortgagors, as I said, who suffered damage to property from Hurricane Melissa, actually, they are able to submit an insurance claim at any NHT office island-wide. So we have a set of forms that are available. They're available on our website, nht.gov.jm, and you can download that. They're e-fillable forms, so the individuals who want to put in those applications can actually, with the help of a device, you don't need to print, you don't need to download, you can actually just fill it out and follow the steps from there. Applications can also be made on our NHT online platform. That's online.nht.gov.jm. And we're asking individuals who have been impacted or homeowners to put in these claims by January 15, 2026. So, why do we have a deadline? The general insurance terms actually state that within 45 days after the disaster, one is expected to put in a peril claim. And you can appreciate why, because the property can further become compromised, not just from that disaster, but from other elements thereafter. So from a safety standpoint, and also to capture the impact of the damage and not to prevent any further compromise to the property, we want to submit those claims as soon as possible. Well, Hurricane Melissa happened on actually October 28th, so 45 days from that would in fact take us up to December 12th, which would be next week. But the NHT, we did some negotiations with our insurers. We impressed on them that this is not business as usual. And therefore, we got an extension by a further 30 days, which now brings us to January 15, 2026 as the deadline for submission. We asked that as part of the application, there are some key documents that the homeowner must provide, in addition to just general identification and that type of documentation. We want our homeowners to, in particular, submit proof of the damage and also an estimate of the cost to repair whatever damage that occurred. We do understand that some properties, based on the level of damage, may require some amount of immediate repairs. So, in instances where individuals, for safety, need to make urgent repairs to the property so as to not cause any greater damage, whether to self or to property further, we ask that those be well documented in terms of photographs of the damage before and after the emergency repairs are undertaken, and to submit along with the application as well any monies that would have been spent as part of the repair process. So a full list of what the documents are available on our website, nht.gov.jm. We've also put there the application form, the checklist of documents required, and also we put on that site as well a set of frequently asked questions. So generally some questions that um, you may have in submitting a claim, and some answers there ahead of time that can assist you and guide you effectively in terms of making your peril insurance claim. I want to move to the next one, which is the Hurricane Relief Loan, and that is a special home improvement loan facility that the NHT is making available to our contributors and our mortgagors actually to assist in the repairs and generally to improve disaster resilience for properties which may have been damaged. And by that I mean some timber roofs may have given way during the passage of Hurricane Melissa, and for the individual who had their roof damaged, they probably want to not go back to timber roof and probably want to convert or switch to slab roofing. So the funds that the NHT is making available can be used for that. And also in instances where perhaps windows were damaged and for future proofing, you want to invest in hurricane shutters, the loan facility that the NHT is making available can be used to purchase those as well. We're making it available to existing NHT mortgagors. So if you have a mortgage with the NHT, you can apply. If you have a mortgage with another institution, you also can apply for this facility. Um, Homeowners generally, if you don't have a mortgage, whether with NHT or another institution, but you're a homeowner, you can apply for it. And in this special instance, the NHT is demonstrating some amount of flexibility by making this home improvement loan available to contributors generally. So once you're a contributor of the NHT, and let's say the reality is that you may live in Kingston and St. Andrew or in another parish that was not impacted by the hurricane, but your family home is in one of the 7 most affected parishes. The NHT is making a special consideration at this time where it is allowing qualified contributors to put in loan applications, hurricane relief loan applications on behalf of individuals in other parishes who have been impacted. The major clause here is that you have to be an immediate family member. So by immediate family member, we mean parents, siblings, spouse, or offspring, so children. Once you fall within any of those 4 groups, you can put in an application on behalf of a homeowner who is impacted in one of the 7 most um, affected parishes. We're also making the loan facility available to individuals who may have insurance arrangements, but the insurance arrangements may not be adequate enough in terms of payout to restore the property to its original state, and they need additional funding. They may access this loan facility as well. Uh, it's a it's a homeowner's loan, and the maximum loan amount that the NHT is making available is $3.5 million per collateral, which means per property, per house, if you prefer to term it that way. We are allowing for individuals to co-apply. However, the maximum amount still remains at $3.5 million. So let's say an assessment of the affordability is done for an individual who is interested in putting in a loan application, and that individual's affordability is only $2 million, but they do require, based on their estimates and cost to repair, that full loan amount of $3.5 million. The NHT will allow one other individual to be added to the loan application as a co-applicant. However, that individual won't get a fresh 3.5. They would only be able to be qualified for the remainder of the amount. So in the example I'm providing, what the first individual qualifies for 2 million, then a second individual could come on the loan as a co-applicant and access the remaining 1.5. So even where there are 2 individuals co-applying, that maximum loan amount will still be 3.5 million. We're offering this as a fixed interest rate of 2% and a service charge of 2% as well. And the loan tenure for this facility is 20 years or up to age 70, whichever comes first. So for the individual who is 50, of course, they would have 20 years to repay. For the individual who is 45, they would have 20 years to repay as well. So whichever comes first. A special thing about this facility, the NHT is building into it a 6-month moratorium, which means for the first 6 months of the loan once it's been dispersed from the date of disbursement. For the first 6 months, the borrower is not required to make any mortgage payment. So the first payment on this loan would become due in month 7, and the first day of the 7th month following the month that the loan was dispersed in. I should say we're mobilizing our teams to process these loan applications, and that extends to the peril insurance arrangements as well, that we've boosted our capacity at this time to be more responsive and to be efficient in terms of the processing of these requests. So, as an example, for our peril insurance claims, we've increased the number of assessors we have on the ground who are able to, once we receive an application, be dispatched as quick as possible to do an assessment and to move the claim to the next stage of the process. Similar in-house as it relates to receipt of the applications, we have reduced our processing time in-house from 5 days to we're probably in the region of two days now. Within receipt of the application, we're able to move it to the next stage, which is to have the assessors do their part. And the assessors have promised us that within 5 days we can get a report and then move to settlement. So, as I indicated, we're putting more support behind these initiatives at this time because we do understand that urgency is the order of the day. So with our loan facility as well, we are making the improvements as it relates to processing, and are also even considering if we can accommodate earlier points of disbursement once the loan has reached a particular stage of origination. The next one I want to share a little with you on is the disaster relief grant. And as the name suggests, it's a special grant that the NHT is making available to contributors who suffered property damage due to Hurricane Melissa. So it's a grant amount of $500,000 per house. So per property damaged, $500,000 will be made available. And the facility extends not just to the homeowners, but we're looking at contributors generally. We're looking at former contributors. We're also looking at our pensioners, who we are very mindful of have been impacted, but of course do not have the the incomes or the type of steady income perhaps to take on a hurricane loan as we provide in the other initiative, but still need some help. And so the NHT is making this facility available to them. Uh, as you can see, we're trying to be as inclusive as possible, trying to capture as many people who have been impacted in terms of getting this grant to them, especially those whose houses are in a particular state right now and need some emergency repairs. So again, we're looking at our current NHT contributors. We're looking at former contributors of the NHT. We're also looking at pensioners. And again, much like the loan facility, even if it is that you live in another parish, you're a contributor of the NHT, you have a parent who is a pensioner, and they're in one of the 7 most affected parishes, the NHT is allowing at this time for those individuals to put in an application on behalf of people who have been impacted in what we may classify as the disaster zone. Uh, I should point out too that the grant and the loan are separate facilities. What we're looking at this time is need. So in an assessment, if an individual who applies for a hurricane relief loan accesses the 3.5 million, but that is still not enough for them to effect the necessary repairs, they may also apply for a grant as well once there is need. Similarly, if an individual has the NHT peril insurance coverage or insurance coverage from another institution, accesses that claim, but it is still not enough, and they can access the NHT hurricane relief loan, And even if they access the hurricane relief loan and that's still not enough, they can also still access the NHT disaster relief grant. So no restriction in terms of you being able to access any of these benefits. They are not linked to each other. We assess the applicants based off need, and that's the driver that we're using at this time. We're trying to get help to the people who need the help. And so you are able to access any of these once there is need. So having one doesn't stop you from accessing the other. And having accessed a loan from the NHT and having access probably the original NHT home improvement loan, it still doesn't prevent you from accessing the hurricane relief loan or getting a disaster grant from the NHT. So if you have previous benefits from the NHT, you've benefited from our home grant, you've benefited from our disabilities grant, you've benefited from our pensioners in particular who may have received our solar grants and have had their solar facilities installed. Them in particular, if those solar panels are damaged, you especially want to be applying for this grant so you can undertake the necessary repairs to it. I should also stress at this time that it for individuals who perhaps have not yet accessed their NHT benefit and they're looking at the hurricane relief loan to assist a family member, or they're looking at putting in applications for the disaster relief grant, it will not impact your ability to get your what we call non-homeowners loan if you're not yet a homeowner and you're looking at applying for an NHT loan in the future. So these are special standalone facilities separate from the NHT's regular suite of benefits. And as you can appreciate, we are doing this because of the impact of the hurricane, and therefore that's the purpose of these initiatives. And we are not putting any restriction on you being able to access something else in the future. And also, when it comes to your contribution refunds, I know January 1 is around the corner and people are looking at applying. Accessing the contribution refunds as well won't be a challenge if you get any of these benefits. The final one I want to touch on before I take any questions that you may have is a moratorium on NHT mortgages, which simply means the NHT is giving a break in mortgage payments between November 1 and April next year. So no mortgage payments will be due for NHT mortgagors in the 7 most affected parishes, let me start there, until May next year. And I may dare say, if it is that May next year comes and an individual who is impacted is not in a position to be able to start making mortgage payments, if necessary, the NHT will extend it beyond that 6-month period. So the moratorium, which is a break in mortgage payment, it's covering all the components of the mortgage. Initially, when we started this presentation, I said that monthly mortgage payment includes principal, interest, and insurance. And generally, when a moratorium is extended, the interest payments continue to be accrued. The NHT has put a freeze on interest payments, so there are no interest payments being calculated on the loans in those 7 most affected parishes at this time. And the NHT has also put a pause on collecting the insurance payments. So that moratorium, in other words, extends to all components of the mortgage. So absolutely no payments are being made between November 1 and April 30, 2026. So for the 7 most affected parishes, that moratorium is automatic, meaning that the mortgagor does not have to do anything. We've already made contact with all the employers and have advised them that there should be no salary deduction on these mortgages or on these accounts for the 6-month period. Of course, where mortgagors may not be that adversely affected and they want to continue making those mortgage payments, they can indicate that. And of course, the loan will continue to be serviced as normal. And as I said, any extension of this moratorium beyond these initial 6 months, the NHT is willing to consider those on a case-by-case basis come next year. So what about our mortgagors in the other parishes, you may ask? So in the other parishes where mortgagors, their incomes have been impacted and they are experiencing challenges in terms of making mortgage payments. And this also extends to people who may have family who are relying on them for support, and their family is in the 7 most affected parishes. They are probably outside, but we understand that the resources are flowing to where the need is at this time. Or individuals who may live, let's say, in a St. Catherine, in a Clarendon, but their employment is in St. Anne or St. Elizabeth or Manchester, and that business entity or that employer has been impacted, they can also benefit from a moratorium. In those instances, however, the NHT is considering them on a case by case basis. And we're asking these individuals to put in an application in this regard. They can head over to the NHT's website, nht.gov.jm. /recover, you will see a special page we've built out there that has the application form, a checklist of the documents required. Once you download the form, fill it out, send it back to us at specialassistance@nht.gov.jm. We will assess the application and make contact with you. So for the individuals in the other 7 parishes, and I think I did not probably indicate what I mean by the 7 most affected parishes. But to ensure that we're on the same page, I'm talking about Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, and St. Anne. So those are the 7 most affected parishes that I've been referencing. So individuals in the other 7 parishes, they too, as I said, can benefit from the moratorium, but we are considering those on a case-by-case basis, and those applications should come into us by January 31, 2026. I want to go back to the disaster relief grant for a little bit to say that what the NHT requires in terms of submitting applications for these grants, we're looking at obviously proof of damage. One, we're looking at an estimate for either building material or labor to repair the property. And we're also looking for proof of ownership. And this is important. And this is where we're going to put some requests to our JPs here. Proof of ownership is generally restricted to a registered title, or let me put it this way: a registered title is the ultimate document that demonstrates proof of ownership. But we understand at this time, especially in that particular belt, of the challenges that exist as it relates to land ownership and tenure, and just challenges in terms of property existing but not being duly registered. And so the NHT at this time is extending what it will accept as proof of ownership to more than just a registered title, to individuals who may have just a diagram. We will accept that at this time. You may not have the title, may not have the diagram, but you know your valuation number and you make property tax payments on an annual basis. We will accept the receipts for those property tax payments as well as proof of ownership. And in extreme circumstances now, where there is none of that, but everybody knows a Mass John land start up at a mango tree and it end right down there, so at the big stone. This is where now we want our JPs to assist in terms of providing letters of verification or where they know the history of the land to put in a letter as part of proof of ownership to say, hey, I know John Brown to having been residing at this property. He's been residing there for X number of years. He's been residing there undisturbed, and therefore I am saying you can go ahead and give John Brown this grant because I know him to have a property there that has been damaged. Also, for individuals where, for instances rather, where the justice of the peace may not know the individual so well or know the history of the property so well, but there's someone who can appear before the justice of the peace to give an attestation that they know the history of the land and they know John Brown to be living there, and it's John Brown grandfather land from when, whatever the history of the land, and they can appear before a justice of the peace to make that declaration. We will accept that as well. Quite a bit shared this evening. So I'm leaving you with our contact information, primarily our website, nht.gov.jm/recover. We've built out a page there that has application forms for all these initiatives. They have the checklist of documents that are required to access any of these benefits. And also, as I said, we have a frequently asked questions list as well that you can refer to in making your applications just to better understand what is required of you and how you should submit your application successfully. Those are my main points. I'll stop sharing at this time, and I can take any questions that the membership may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dwayne Burbick. Thank you very much. This presentation has been a mouthful of valuable information. It is so excellent. It is worth repeating twice. But we do not have the time, so I would just like to say to our JPs that 1, we will try to get the presentation to you. 2, we're streaming live on PBCJ, and so the recordings will be there for persons to access the information. And 3, we're now at the question and answer section where you can put questions to Mr. Burbick and he can clarify, answer as best as he can. But as I said before, excellent, valuable presentation. One of the most important things is that we know that most of our JPs from the most affected parishes are not online. And we're hoping that you who are online will be able to get this information to them so that they can get it to the citizens in the parishes that are so badly affected. So we will start with first a comment in the chat. That was the first comment. I believe it was answered, but I will raise it for Mr. Burbick. Good afternoon, Courtney Vassell said. What about Kingston persons whose roof were damaged? I know that you said from the 7 affected parishes. Some clarity here, please. I don't know, Mr. Burbick, if you can respond to that.
I think I did clarify that to say in the other 7 parishes, we'll accept the moratorium requests on a case-by-case basis. So you can put in your application, to download the form, put in the supporting documentation, and send it to special assistance at nht.gov.jm, and we'll make contact with you.
Perfect. David Clark asked in the chat, as it relates to the automatic application of the moratorium, where the mortgage is satisfied monthly via salary deduction, how does the mortgagor benefit from this relief? Salary departments are going to still make the deductions if there's no written instruction coming from the NHT. In these cases, do we request revised salary deduction instructions from the NHT? If the payments continue, would the amounts go directly to the principal? Mr. Burbick?
On mute. I'm sorry about that.
Yes.
So I said in the presentation that we've given those instructions to all our employers. So we've actually made contact with all of them and have given those instructions. We are mindful though that salary mortgage payments become due November 1, and there may be some payroll departments that perhaps never got the instruction in time and still deducted November mortgage payments and made those to the NHT. Where cases are being made that the funds are needed, we will facilitate a refund. You can make contact with us for that. But otherwise, the instructions were sent, and therefore they should be followed by the employers. If they are not, of course, reach out to us and we can address that further.
Okay, thank you. So the first to raise hand is Doron Dixon. Dixon, can you go ahead and unmute your mic?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Afternoon, everybody. Greetings, my brother.
Good afternoon, Mr. Dixon.
In regards to the person who essentially have an NHT mortgage, but the mortgage is being serviced through a third party, I have members who are asking if they can benefit from the moratorium, even though under the arrangement, they would not be paying directly into the NHT, but you understand that what they have is essentially an NHT mortgage.
Yes, and that's that line of a demarcation for us, Mr. Dixon, that those loans are in fact not registered at the NHT. So even though individuals would have accessed the NHT benefit in getting those loans, uh, there isn't a jurisdiction for the NHT over those mortgages because they are not registered with the NHT. So we wouldn't be able to extend the moratorium to them. I encourage, of course, to reach out to your mortgage provider and find out what arrangements have been put in place, because I do see some mortgage institutions announcing moratoria and other types of support at this time. They will be able to access the hurricane relief loan if they want. They will be able to access the grant, but the moratorium would be out of our jurisdiction.
All right. Just one other question, Madam Chair, if I might. In regards to the moratorium and the non-deduction of mortgage payments, some teachers have reached out to say that they already would have seen the deductions made from their November salaries. I know you mentioned it, but is the refund automatic, or is it that they have to apply for it?
They would have to make contact with us to apply for it, because there are some instances where some individuals may not want to take up the moratorium and would prefer to continue servicing. So for those individuals who saw the November payments already deducted, probably because the employer didn't see the instruction in time, we are facilitating those refund.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Thank you, Chair.
so our next is Diana Taffet. Could you go ahead and unmute your mic?
Okay, good evening, everyone. Question, Mr. Dwayne, for you said with the personal ownership of the land, because of the hurricane and the house that have been destroyed, and many personal probably documentation get destroyed. I want to know how the NHT moving to help those people for proof that they have once of their title and different documentation that probably get destroyed. How best the NHT is working to help those people to get back these documents to show proof of ownership.
So there are two things that we're doing. We are using our database currently, and where our database has sufficient information, not just necessarily relating to ownership, but just identification or other forms of documents that may be required. And we have them in our database and we're able to verify from our database, then we will use that as best as possible to begin with. What are some of the other things we're doing? We're also doing partnerships with some other government agencies that are going into some of these affected communities at this time and are providing support in terms of replacing some of these documents. So, as an example, tomorrow we'll be at the Newell Health Center with the Ministry of Health. We'll be there with PICA, we'll be there with NIS, TAJ, and other government institutions that are assisting individuals with replacing. So we are part of that collaboration as well. And we also have our mobile team that is going out into our communities. I believe they spent quite a bit of time in Westmoreland today. They were in St. Elizabeth Tuesday. We go to St. James next Tuesday. So our mobile unit is also out there on the ground assisting the affected individuals with putting in their applications. And again, as I said, where we can do some verification on our databases to move those applications along, we are facilitating that at this time.
Okay, thank you. Can Eileen Davis unmute her mic? While we await Eileen Davis, I'll move on to Iona.
Evening, everyone. Ayotha is
My
the
mic
name,
is
Ayotha
muted.
Rainey.
No, Iona.
Ayotha. Is that Ayotha Rainey?
There is a Iona.
Yes, that's Iona. My surname is Mattison. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Iona, can you go ahead, please?
Yes, thank you very much. I have a question. Good evening to you, Mr. Burbick. Is there
Pleasant evening.
any consideration being given to persons who are in the diaspora concerning the acceptance of electronic signatures, bearing in mind that, you know, things have to be moving quickly and persons are not able to come to Jamaica to do their application and all of that. Just asking, is there any consideration being given concerning the NHT accepting electronic signatures, even for this time?
To be quite fair, I haven't heard those discussions as yet. And I think you know and appreciate that in some instances, legally, especially for loan applications, wet signatures are still required. Haven't heard a discussion yet on whether electronic will be accepted in this time. Given the circumstances, I will, of course, make an inquiry in that regard. However, for the other benefits, the grant, and peril insurance, those other arrangements. Of course, you can appoint an agent who can act on your behalf. And I would also say for the loan facility as well, where there are mortgages overseas who have been impacted. Another option that can be pursued is to use a power of attorney to appoint someone to do the transaction on your behalf. So those options are currently available, Mrs. Mattison, a power of attorney, appointing an agent to act on your behalf, or for the benefit that is the grant, while you are impacted, if you have a reminder that if you have an immediate family member who is a contributor, they can put in an application for the grant on your behalf. So those facilities currently exist, those arrangements rather currently exist, and I'll be happy to make a further check on the electronic signature and to revert to you with a response.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.
Delroy Redway, could you go ahead and unmute your mic? While we await Delroy, we will move on to Joan Murray Brown. Are you able to unmute your mic, Joan?
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Okay,
Kirby.
go ahead, Joan. We'll get back to you, Delroy. Go ahead, Joan.
Are you hearing me,
Yes,
Ms.
we're
Wigan?
hearing you clearly.
All right, good evening to everyone. I lost connection at a point where Mr. Burbick was discussing the grant, and I heard him mentioning persons such as pensioners. But what if you have someone who has worked, the person is a return and is not a pensioner under the Jamaican system? Would that person be qualified to apply for a grant where the person who was extensively damaged?
Have they ever worked in Jamaica and contributed to the NHT?
No,
Never.
no.
All right. I'll be happy though to take that one as a special consideration. Um, I can ask you to make contact with our host and give me an email address and a number that I can reach out to you on to get some more information.
Okay, thank you.
You're most
Okay.
welcome.
So, Mr. Delroy Redway?
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you now, sir.
Good afternoon and good evening, and thanks very much, Mr. Burbick. I am asking, in the case of JPs dealing with attestation and verification regarding the proof of ownership, etc., will there be some standard forms submitted to a point where we could utilize those documents, or are we expected to draft letters which might be differing in terms of content?
Appreciate the concern, and it's the second time this week I'm hearing it. So we started with just a drafting of letters, but based on some feedback we received, we're going back to the drawing board to develop a form that would allow the JPs to just fill in the requisite information as it would already have the wording that we require. Not a form, but somewhat of a template that can be used. So that is not available yet, Justice Redway. But in the interest of time, and given the challenges, I would encourage our JPs to go ahead and to deal with as best as possible, drafting those letters that speak to it in as best a way as you can. If it doesn't satisfy us, we'll already have your contact information, then we can reach out directly. But as soon as the template and the form is available, we will add that to the list of supporting documents that is on our website, that you'll be able to download it and be able to use it.
Thank you. And the second question, could you send forms which are required within the parishes so affected to the Justice Center in each parish, for example, so that the JPs in these various locations could access this information, seeing that not all of us will have access to the computer systems and so on, but we could collect
Appreciate
the
that.
brochures and so on at the Justice Center within our parishes, so we can move out to educate others out in the streets.
Appreciate that, and I can coordinate that with Mrs. Wigan. However, there are printed forms available at NHT branch offices, all our branch offices, so that's a good reference point. But I will coordinate with Mrs. Wigan getting some forms, or at least the soft copy of the forms, and then we can determine how we can distribute them, or what printing services may be required to, support the dispatch.
Thank you very much, and continue to do your good works. Thank you, Mrs. Wigan.
Thank you very much,
Thank
sir.
you. So we move on to Mrs. Campbell Riney.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, everyone. My comment, let me first say thanks to Mr. Burbick for an excellent presentation. Wealth of information has been gathered. Point though is that I suffered a major disaster in 2001. Yeah, yes, I'm saying correctly, 2001 from the NHT, and I am yet to be compensated. My house was flooded, not flooded with water, it was flooded with sewage. And that happened 1 month after I took up residency of the property. At that time, I was still paying a mortgage and I was paying peril insurance. The bottom line of it is that I was given a letter by the NHT after they claimed that they did investigation, which stated that the fault was mine. Now, please note that I said 1 month after I took up residency of the building, it was flooded. And right through the building, you can assist me to say at what point during construction examiners visit the property and they kept assessing it. And if there were fault in construction, they should have been blamed, they meaning the examiners, those who assessed during construction. Now, at the end of it, I was given absolutely nothing, even while there was proof, multiple proof, that I suffered major damages from this incident. And then NHT had nothing to contribute to my reconstruction and rebuilding of my home life. And I think that was grossly injustice, even while I continued paying peril insurance. You assist me here, if you may. Thank you.
Let me say, I'm sorry that was your experience. I'm sorry that your home was damaged and impacted in that way. And I am not certain of the circumstances. At first, of course, I'm hearing this case, and therefore I wouldn't want to comment without being privy to the details, the circumstances that led to that decision. But it is something I would happy to take a look at. It would be something I would happy to review, at least if not to offer remedy, but to at least have an appreciation as to what happened and to see if there's anything at all that can be done still to improve. That I'm sure is no doubt a bitter taste in your mouth. So not much I can comment on. I hope you can appreciate that. Not much I can say about the matter, other than that I'd be willing to at least look into it and to see what happened and to refer it to our insurance team to see whether there could be some consideration at this point.
Thanks, I'll appreciate that. I'll make contact.
You're most welcome.
Okay, thank you. Can we go on to Dione Duncan?
So much. I'm just simply asking if the presenter could repost that final slide with the contact information where you have the telephone numbers, website, and so forth. I would appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay, let me work on that for you.
yes. While
Should
you're
be up
working
now?
on that, yes, it is up now.
Okay.
Tyrone Green, would you like to go ahead and pose your question?
Good evening, everyone. First, I must say thank you very much for the information given. My query, though, is based on the third-party verification. Now, as a justice of the peace, doing a verification for a property, you must have first-hand knowledge that the property belongs to the person claiming. Now, what we normally do is we would refer them to another justice of the peace who have first-hand knowledge of them being the owner. So, I'm not sure if I heard, I hope I heard the information correctly, where Mr. Burbick was mentioning that if somebody might know the ownership of the property can verify to the justice of the peace. On a norm, we don't really work off a third party knowledge to verify ownership. So that is where my point and query in one would come about. Thank
Okay.
you.
I think it was less about the individual appearing to. Okay, let me put it this way. I'll look back at it and I'll clarify. But to say the intention is not for the justice of the peace to take necessarily the third party information, but for the justice of the peace to really authenticate the statement being made, to say that the individual did appear and wrote this and say that this is so. If you get what I'm saying.
Yes, sir. Thank you much for it.
Yes. But it's something we can, of course, look back to see how we can make it cleaner. So there is less of a confusion in terms of our expectation from our JPs in terms of supporting the initiatives.
Much appreciated, because I would like to know what is required of us to in this matter. Thank you.
Fair enough. You're most welcome, and thank you as well.
Okay, I'm going to take the last two hands and then we have to move on because we do have another presenter. We want to hear from the Ministry of Labor and to see how best JPs can volunteer to support their damage assessment program. I've seen where a number of JPs have put their names and credentials in the chat and we're taking that information down. So Charlene, you could go ahead and unmute.
Thank you. Good night, everyone. Great presentation. In the case of someone who has a purposue mortgage, how would we go about getting? Say I'm in St. Anne. We have the purposue mortgage, where we know that the bank is going to take that payment out of our money and send it to NHT. How would we? I just need some guidance where that is concerned. What can I do to prevent that? Is there something that some way I can reach out? Is there a letter that would be given to us from NHT, or how would that part work?
I'm processing it as you ask. So the pari passu, though, the pari passu would allow you to make, my understanding of the pari passu is that actually the mortgager makes two different mortgage payments. So if you're making one mortgage payment, then it's probably not pari passu. Because the difference between the pari passu and the joint mortgage is that the joint mortgage allows you to make one payment to the mortgage institution and they remit whatever the NHT is to get on the back end. On the pari passu, it's the opposite of that, where the mortgager makes two separate mortgage payments, one to the NHT and one to the bank.
It's one payment.
But it's a pari passu, but it's one payment you're making?
Yes. I'm actually asking on behalf of my niece. She has the purposue. She did it many years ago. But the bank, she makes one payment to the bank and then the bank pays NHT.
Those terms sound like a joint mortgage where the mortgage would be registered at the bank and not at NHT. Under pari passu, it would be two separate mortgage payments they would be making. But again, something I'd be happy to look at for you. If you could just drop your comment, your contact with our host as well. I'll take that one and do some follow up on your behalf.
Thank you.
Yes, please. But you said it's on behalf of someone. So if I could get the loan account number for that person as part of the contact information, I would appreciate it.
No problem. I'll get that in send over, yes.
Okay, so our last is M. Black Kellar.
Good evening. Thanks for taking my question. Thank you for the presentation. Just wanted to know, is the presentation recorded, and if we could have access to that recording, as the information is a bit much, might be easier if we can go through it in our own time. Is that possible?
Yes. Currently this session, the presentation is being streamed on PBCJ, and so you can access it at any time. Two, we will be providing a copy of the presentation, but we're providing it through the custos who will circulate it to you. So PBCJ, you can go on to PBCJ to look at the session, and we will circulate the PowerPoint presentation to the custodies who will pass it on to you.
Okay, thank you.
So we really want to say an excellent big thank you to Mr. Burbick. Dwayne Burbick, National Housing Trust, you guys are doing great things. You're really responding in a real way, and we are grateful for the information and the opportunities. You have indicated that there is the peril insurance claim. We must remember that we can submit it the latest January 15, 2026. You have spoken about the disaster relief grant, including that $500,000 that would be available on conditions, of course, and how the JPs have a role to play there in supporting the citizens. You have also spoken on the hurricane relief loan that is available both to mortgagors and persons who are NHT contributors and persons who may not be directly affected, but their loved ones are affected. And so that is a good opportunity. You have also spoken on the no mortgage payment until May 2026, this moratorium. And so we welcome these 4 major initiatives from NHT. We're hoping that our JPs who are listening now will not only keep the information to themselves, but will be sources of credible information by passing it on to other JPs and to other persons within their communities and especially in the affected parishes. Once more, you will be able to access this presentation on the PBCJ website after. Thank you once again, Mr. Burbick. I don't know why I keep on thinking Beswick, and so I'm going in and out with it, but I think I should really just stick to Dwayne.
That works.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, thank the National Housing Trust.
And thank
Now
you
we
for
want
having
to,
me. What I'll try to do just before I head off, I'll take some of the questions and some of the concerns raised, especially as it relates to the role of the JP, and to see how I can flesh that out a little bit more in that specialized and tailored presentation that I'll send to you.
no problem. Thank you very much.
Thanks again, and all the very best.
Yes. Now we are going to move on to another important entity, the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. We have today with us the Chief Technical Director, Mrs. Audrey Dare Williams, and the Director, Ms. Suzette Morris. They're here to share with us on the Ministry of Labor's initiative as it relates to damage assessment that needs to be conducted and how the JPs can be a part of this session. I've seen in the chat where JPs have been putting their names, the parish that they're assigned, and their email contact or telephone contact so that we can utilize and reach out to them to provide to the Ministry of Labor. Mrs. Dare Williams or Miss Morris, would you like to go ahead and make your presentation? I will make you a presenter if you're unable to unmute.
I hope you're hearing me. Good evening,
Yes.
everyone.
Yes, we're hearing you clearly.
I am Audrey Dare Williams, and I'm Chief Technical Director, and I do have Ms. Suzette Morris, who is our Director of Social Security, on as well. So let me apologize, perhaps. We do not have a presentation per se. We were asked today to just come on and appeal to our justices of the peace. So as you said earlier, we as the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, we have been in the field from the day after the hurricane. We have been distributing food packages and conducting household damage assessments. And that is where the justices come in for us. So although we have nearly 500 persons in the field at the moment doing assessments, the ministry, in an effort to increase the rate at which we are doing assessments, we are appealing to various groups to come and join us to conduct the assessment. So it's actually a simple process. We have a form, an electronic form that we use. It's called a JH Dyno, Jamaica Household Damage and Impact Needs Assessment Form, which we use to conduct assessments in the field. We train persons before they go out into the field. It's a simple form that they can conduct the assessment. So our purpose here this evening is to ask that where JPs are available in the parishes, that they join us, join our assessment teams as we try to wrap up assessment in as short a time as possible. And I'm glad that they are putting their names in the chat. We will reach out and get the information, arrange the training, and they'll be ready for the field. I don't know if there are any questions or if there's anything else my colleague would want to add.
Ms. Morris, are you able to unmute?
So good evening. Mrs. Dear Williams covered very well what we are requesting. And I just add my voice to say we're asking persons, especially in the big seven, the 7 most impacted parishes, to join our teams to assist us with completing the household damage assessment.
Okay, so as it relates to the form, how do we access that form? Are there printed copies at designated locations, or do we go online?
So Ms. Wigan, it is a part of our training process.
Oh,
So when
yeah.
we train, and I want to highlight, it's an electronic form. We are trying to stay away from a paper-based form for various reasons. But as you can imagine, the electronic form would be more efficient for us.
Okay. Could you just give us a little idea as to what constitute the assessment? Is it that the JPs will be required to go into the communities that are affected and that they will have to take pictures of the damaged houses, interview the affected persons? What does it involve, this damage assessment activity?
So go ahead, Ms.
So the damage assessment activity involves a house-to-house visits and interviewing information that is collected as regards the damage. And you are expected to take photographs. So the damage assessment form can be administered using any Android device. It's not used on iOS or the iPhone devices. The device has to be an Android device, and you capture photographs, you capture GPS coordinates, and you also collect information on the household members and the particular vulnerabilities of the household. You also capture information on the loss of productive assets.
And lost. Okay, you indicated that there will be a training session where all the details will be provided. What is the time period that we're looking at? Is it going to be next week or week after next, or is it a daily engagement? And also we'd like to know the method of the training, because as you would understand, some persons may not have internet, but they may have telephone access. Is the training only going to be virtual, or is it going to be virtual, in person? Could you advise us?
So training sessions are conducted virtually on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays currently. But we do have the capacity to facilitate in-person trainings if we have groups of persons in particular geographic locations.
Okay, I'm happy to hear that. The custos for St. James, you would have expressed that has been one of his concern and wanting to know whether arrangement could be made to have the face-to-face training at a location in St. James. So I'm very happy to hear that. That being said, I'm going to look in the chat to see if there's any question that or comment. I'm not seeing any question relevant to the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. Oh, T-Box is asking, could you please remind us the purpose or reason for this assessment? Persons will be asking why they're doing the assessment.
So the household damage assessment process allows us to collect information on the impact of the hurricane on households. As we said, we collect information on the damage to the house, but we also collect information on the impact to productive assets. Also, this damage assessment process is what, based on the determination of benefits to be paid out to persons who have been impacted, this is what will facilitate those benefit payments.
Okay, thank you for that. Someone is asking about the timeline, time online. What is the duration of the virtual training sessions?
So the training sessions usually last anywhere between 1 to 1.5 hours. And that's dependent on the number of questions asked. But it's usually anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half.
Okay, so I'm seeing the same names that were raised in the chat, but let me try. This is a new name. Damian Black. Can you unmute your mic? Do you have a question for the Ministry of Labor and Social Security? I'm not hearing Mr. Black. Let me try Samuel Robinson Mackenzie.
Good evening.
Get back to you, Mr. Black. Go ahead, Miss Mackenzie.
My first question is, given that it's only Android devices that are used in the completion of these forms, will devices be provided to persons who do not have Android devices?
Yes, devices can be provided. We have arranged to have devices that we can share with persons who do not have their
Uh,
own.
Okay, and my second question is internet access required for gathering and submitting this information, or is there like a database that the
First, so for submitting the form, you will need the data, internet and internet access. But in the field, you do not require to have internet access. And that's the
okay.
beauty of the form. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Mr.
Another
Black?
question. I have another question, sorry. If I should say I volunteer to assist in this area, but I am only available like for a week or so, is that okay? Or is it that persons will be required for a number of time, like maybe from now until January, February, or whatever?
We will definitely accept whatever you can afford us.
Okay.
We're not going to refuse help if it's even a day.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Damian Black, would you like to go ahead and unmute? Okay. I will come back to you, Mr. Black. Let me try Alice Green. Alice Green, would you like to unmute?
Yes, good night, everyone. I would like to know if there will be a stipend for traveling for those who don't have transportation to the various homes. Did you hear?
Yes, I heard.
So,
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
so there is no current arrangement for stipend for traveling. How we organize our multi-sectoral assessment teams is that we usually have persons in groups paired with a member of the MLSS team, and that is how transportation is provided where you do not have transportation. But there currently is no stipend. It is straight volunteer
Okay.
activity.
Okay. Understood.
And Messam Burrows. Messam Burrows? Messam Burrows, would you like to unmute your mic? I'm not hearing from Messam, so let me go on to Dione Duncan.
Thank you. My question is, for those of us who are employed full-time, what if we want to volunteer on weekends? Is that a possibility?
Just to say we are in the field 7 days a week. So that is a possibility as well.
Thank you, noted.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I'm going to take the last two. Anne. Anne, A-N-N. You can go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hello, good night.
Good night.
It's a long time hand. I was really asking for the deadline on the previous presentation for the grant application. I don't know if I had missed it, if it was said and I had missed it.
I can get that information, and when we're circulating, it will be provided.
Okay, then. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
You're welcome. Okay, so the last person is Ishmael Drysdale.
Good evening, everyone. My question is already been answered. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And I will just go back to Mr. Damian Black. You need to unmute your mic. We're seeing you, but we're not hearing. I'm so sorry that we're not able to hear Mr. Black. And so we are at the end of our session this evening. I would like to sincerely thank the Ministry of Labor, the two representatives that hands were laid suddenly, inviting you to come and outline to us what the assessment process and activity is about to allow our JPs to volunteer to support the Ministry of Labor. Thank you very much for the information that you have provided. We would also like to thank the National Housing Trust for a very valuable presentation. The content is without doubt very important to help us in our recovery activities. We'd like to thank our justices. You are justices of the peace. Over 300 JPs have joined us this evening. We thank you very much. We really hope that you will not only receive the information, but you will also share the information across communities. We would also like to thank you, those who have already volunteered in the chat. We have seen quite a few names and the email address. The only thing I'm not seeing is a parish for some of them, but we will make do and get in touch with you. We thank all our JPs. We thank the media that has joined us online and PBCJ for streaming this session. Thank you, everyone. It has been wonderful having you this evening. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Have a
Have
good
a good
evening.
evening,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Have a
Good
good
evening,
evening. Bye.
everyone.
Good evening, everyone.
Everyone,
Have a
have a
good
good
evening.
evening.
And
Have a good
thank you.
evening.
Bye
Good
bye.
evening, everyone. Bye
Have a
bye.
good evening.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Um,
Yeah, you will.
good
Have a
evening,
good evening,
everyone.
everyone.
Good evening. Bye. Blessings.
Blessings, everyone.
Good evening. Pleasant evening, everybody. Wow.
Have a good evening.